All right, Cowboys Nation, today we need to talk about the direction this franchise is heading, because things are finally starting to make sense. There's been a lot of noise around the Christian Parker hire, and I've seen some people acting like they know what they're talking about when clearly they don't. The truth is, the people who actually understand football know exactly how big of a move this is for Dallas. The Cowboys needed serious help in the defensive backfield, and Christian Parker is not just a name. He's a coach who has proven he can develop talent and create a real defensive identity. But let's be clear, hiring him is only the first step. The real work begins now. Because if you don't give him the right pieces, all the talk in the world won't turn into wins. This offseason is shaping up to be one of the most important in recent Cowboys history. And I'm not saying that lightly. This is the moment where the organization has to decide if they are going to truly commit to winning a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott, or if they are going to keep dancing around the issue and hoping everything magically works out. The window with Dak is real, and it is not going to stay open forever. Every move this team makes this offseason will either extend that window or start closing it. The coaching staff, the free agency decisions, the draft strategy, the trades. The whole plan needs to be aligned. This is not a time for half measures or being cute. This is a time for boldness, for clarity, and for building a defense that can actually win in the playoffs. Now, the first big chapter in this story is the free agency period, because that's where the Cowboys are going to have to make some real decisions. There are important dates coming up, and you need to know what they mean. The East-West Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl in late January are not just another part of the offseason calendar for the Cowboys. They're a chance for coaches like Aaron Glenn and Lunda Wells to get hands-on with the prospects and start identifying who can actually contribute. That kind of access is invaluable, and it can give the Cowboys an edge in the draft. When you have coaches in the room evaluating players directly, you're not just relying on film and metrics. You're seeing how guys respond in person, how they handle coaching, and how they fit into your scheme. Then February brings the Super Bowl hype. And right after that comes the deadline for franchise and transition tags. That's when we're likely to see the Cowboys make their first major roster move. And if you're a real fan who pays attention, you already know what's coming. Expect George Pickens to get the franchise tag. This is not the Cowboys saying they don't want to commit long term. This is them saying to the rest of the league, hands off our guy. It's a protective move. And it's a smart one, because if you don't protect your top talent, someone else will swoop in and take it. That window between mid-February and early March is going to be critical. Once March hits, the real chaos begins. The tampering period opens, and then the new league year starts, and everything becomes official. That's when free agency really gets loud, and the Cowboys will need to be ready to move quickly. The question is, will they have the cap space to make meaningful moves? And the answer is yes. Because the Cowboys have a real opportunity to open up a huge amount of cap space if they handle things smartly. There are several contracts that can be restructured to free up money, and there are also players who could be released to create even more room. This is where the front office needs to show that they're not just talking about being aggressive. They actually mean it. The numbers are staggering when you look at what the Cowboys could potentially unlock. With restructures alone, they can create a huge amount of cap flexibility. And if they decide to release a couple of veterans who are not fitting into the future plan, that number goes up even more. Some fans will freak out and say you can't cut this guy or you can't let that guy go, but you have to understand the bigger picture. This is about building a roster that can win now and sustain success over the next few years. Sometimes that means making tough decisions, even if the player has been solid in the past. The goal isn't to keep a roster full of veterans who don't fit the scheme or the timeline. The goal is to build a defense that can actually stop teams when it matters most. Now, the Cowboys have to be strategic about who they keep and who they let go. Some players should stay because they still have value and fit what the team is trying to do. Others might be more valuable as cap savings. And this is where the Cowboys can actually position themselves as one of the most active teams in free agency if they want to be. They can create room not just to re-sign their own guys, but to bring in impactful players who can immediately upgrade the roster. This is where the next phase of the offseason starts to become exciting. Because if the Cowboys play this right, they can completely reshape their defense. One of the biggest moves I would target is adding a pass rusher who can change the dynamic of the front. If the Cowboys can bring in a player like Trey Hendrickson, That's the kind of addition that makes a statement. That's the kind of player who can immediately improve the defense and create pressure that the current roster simply doesn't generate consistently. And once you get that kind of impact player, the rest of the pieces start to fall into place. You don't need 10 new starters. You need a few key difference makers who can elevate the unit after you secure a pass rusher. The next priority should be building the secondary round Christian Parker system. That's where a veteran safety like Justin Simmons becomes an intriguing option. This guy has a history of playing at a high level under Parker, and he's the kind of leader who can help guide the younger players the Cowboys will likely draft. Simmons has been picky in free agency before, and he sat out last season because he was waiting for the right opportunity, but he's still in his early 30s, still productive. And he's the kind of veteran presence that can immediately raise the level of the secondary. And if the Cowboys are serious about building a defense that can win in the playoffs, they need guys like that. The Cowboys are not going to be shy about bringing in veteran defenders. They understand that the best defenses in the league are often a blend of young stars and seasoned vets. Look at teams like the Texans or other successful defenses. They have veterans who know how to win and who can mentor the young guys. This is a key part of building a sustainable defense. You draft the talent, but you also need the veterans to teach them how to play at the next level. That's exactly why these moves make sense and why the Christian Parker hire is so important. He's not just a coordinator. He's a developer of talent. The pieces are all lining up. The Cowboys have the cap space, the coaching direction, and the need. All they have to do now is be aggressive and proactive. If they get the right veterans in place, then they can draft the young talent and create a defense that is both physical and smart. That's the blueprint. That's the vision. And it's not complicated. It just requires commitment and execution. The Cowboys have the opportunity to do something special, and I hope they don't waste it. Now, let's keep going because the story doesn't stop with free agency. The draft is going to be just as important, and honestly, it might be the biggest piece of the puzzle. The Cowboys have to get this right because you cannot build a championship defense only through free agency. You need young talent that can grow, develop, and stay with the team for years. That's why the draft is so crucial. You want players who can become long-term starters, not just stopgap pieces. And with the way the roster is shaping up, the Cowboys need to focus on players who can actually fit the scheme and bring that physicality and playmaking ability that has been missing. The first thing you have to understand about this draft is that the Cowboys are not just drafting for need, they are drafting for impact. That means you're looking for players who can step in and contribute right away, but also have the potential to become stars. The defensive backfield is obviously the priority, but you can't ignore the front seven either. You need edge rushers, you need linebackers who can cover and tackle, and you need a defensive line that can win one-on-one matchups. The Cowboys have been too reliant on the same old players for too long, and it's time to inject some fresh talent that can actually change the game. One of the biggest mistakes teams make in the draft is trying to force players into roles they don't fit. The Cowboys cannot do that. They have to be honest about what these players are, what they can become, and how they will fit into Christian Parker's system. You don't draft a guy because he has a good highlight reel. You draft a guy because he has the traits that will translate to the NFL, and because he fits what you're trying to build. That's why the scouting process matters so much, and why the East-West Shrine Bowl and Senior Bowl matter. The Cowboys need to use those opportunities to find players who are not just talented, but coachable and tough. Now, let's talk about the big picture. The Cowboys are not just trying to improve, they are trying to transform. And that transformation has to be more than just a new coordinator or a couple of free agent signings. It has to be a shift in identity. This team needs to become a defense-first franchise again, because if you want to win a Super Bowl, you have to be able to stop teams when the pressure is highest. Offense wins games, sure, but defense wins championships. The Cowboys have had the offense for years, and that's been the story. But the defense has been the missing piece, and that's what they have to fix. Christian Parker's arrival should be seen as the start of a new era, a guy who knows how to coach, knows how to develop players, and knows how to build a unit that plays together. But he cannot do it alone. The Cowboys have to surround him with the right players. That means adding veterans who understand winning and can lead, while also drafting young playmakers who can grow into the system. It means building a defense that is aggressive, physical, and discipline. It means building a team that doesn't get exposed in big moments. That's the goal, and that's the standard. And let's be honest, the Cowboys have had enough of being close. Too many times we've seen this team look good in the regular season, then fall apart when it matters most. That has to end. The front office has to stop treating the defense like an afterthought. They have to treat it like the centerpiece, because if you want to win the Super Bowl, you need a defense that can handle pressure, that can create turnovers, and that can make game-changing plays. That's what the Cowboys have been missing. And that's what they need to fix now. The good news is that the pieces are there. The coaching staff is being built, the cap space is being created, and the draft capital is available. The Cowboys have the chance to be one of the most active and most aggressive teams in the entire league. They can bring in veterans who can help immediately, and they can draft young talent that can develop into stars. But it all comes down to one thing: execution. If the Cowboys hesitate, if they overthink, if they get caught up in drama or pride, they will lose this window. The time for talk is over. Now it's time for action. This is why the next few weeks are so important. Every move, every decision, every negotiation matters. The Cowboys have to stay focused, and they have to be strategic. They cannot let the moment slip away, because this is a rare opportunity. This is a moment where everything is aligned: the coaching staff, the cap space, the draft position, the need, and the urgency. You can feel it. You can sense that this is the year where the Cowboys either take the next step or fall back into the same cycle. And for the fans, I know it's easy to get frustrated. I know it's easy to feel like the team is always messing something up. But I want you to understand the bigger picture. This is a process. It's not always going to be pretty, and it's not always going to be perfect, but the foundation is being laid. The Cowboys are finally building something that resembles a real plan. They are not just making moves randomly. They are trying to build a defense that can win championships. And that starts with the right coach, the right veterans, and the right draft picks. So when you see the Cowboys make moves, don't automatically assume it's a mistake. Look at the bigger picture. Look at the direction. Look at the identity they are trying to build. This is not just about one season. This is about the next 3 or 4 years. This is about building a team that can compete at the highest level for a sustained period, and that's what the Cowboys are trying to do. They're trying to stop being a team that flashes and then fades. They're trying to become a team that stays in the conversation year after year. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. What was supposed to be just another chapter in a demanding season has turned into a cloud of speculation hovering over the Cowboys. According to locker room whispers, Dak Prescott's emotional explosion has left scars that may not heal quickly. The phrase circulating among insiders is blunt and alarming. No one on the roster accepted what he did, whether exaggerated or not. The rumor alone has been enough to ignite talk of a deeper crisis inside one of the league's most scrutinized franchises. Sources close to the situation describe a tense environment where raised voices and pointed gestures replace the usual controlled leadership expected from a franchise quarterback. Prescott, long praised for his composure and command, is said to have crossed an invisible line, shocking teammates who were not prepared for such a public display. Some players reportedly felt exposed. Others questioned whether frustration had overtaken focus in a locker room built on trust. Perception can be as damaging as reality. The Cowboys have always lived under a microscope, and any crack is instantly magnified. Around the team, there is quiet concern about how leadership is defined when pressure mounts. Prescott is not just another player. He is the face of the offense, the voice in the huddle, the reference point when adversity hits. When that figure appears to lose control, even briefly, doubts naturally emerge. Was it a necessary wake-up call, or a sign of internal fracture? Officially, the organization maintains its usual silence, preaching unity and accountability. Unofficially, speculation runs wild. Some believe the incident could galvanize the group, forcing honest conversations and renewed commitment. Others fear lingering resentment, the kind that doesn't show up on the stat sheet but erodes chemistry over time. For now, nothing is confirmed, and much remains in the realm of rumor. Yet in Dallas, rumors have a way of becoming stories, and stories have a way of shaping seasons. All eyes remain on Prescott, not just for his throws, but for how he responds when leadership is questioned from within. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.